Welcome to Trust Your Inner Sense with Joanne Starkman podcast. I'm Joanne Starkman, and I look forward to going on this collaborative journey with you to ignite inspiration, inspire self-discovery, and instill new meaning in life. I'm excited to host a wonderful array of guests, including innovators, creatives, expert coaches, teachers, and much, much more who come together to share their stories. Each episode reveals how they've embraced their inner sense to pursue their passions and shine their unique lights in the world. We'll have thought-provoking discussions and chat about tools that will provide fresh perspectives to help you create a joyful and meaningful life. As founder and chief visionary officer of award-winning hair care brand Inner Sense Organic Beauty, I am also an avid meditator, platform artist, author, and mother of a special needs young adult. Over 20 years ago, I intentionally brought mindfulness to morning routines by authoring each affirmation on Inner Sense Organic Beauty's products, which we call Innerflections. You can check them out on the back of the bottle. It's my goal to have this podcast to be your warm and compassionate companion, whether you're on a journey for deeper meaning, seeking greater joy, or in need of love and healing. Let's continue our journey of self-discovery, self-care, and self-love. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive into this week's Trust Your Inner Sense episode now. Hello, friends. Welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited for my guest today. This is somebody that I just recently met, but feel like I've known in some capacity, just known about her brand and her company. And so meeting her was kind of almost like a little bit of fangirling in a way, just because her business, which you will hear about, is so iconic in the beauty industry. And if you don't know about it, you should, even as a consumer, as a stylist, as, just somebody in the beauty space. And so I was so excited to meet her, and I'm so excited for you to get to know her, and I'm excited for her to share her story. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Stephanie Lester. You're like the head of Essations brand. I'm going to let you talk about it because I'm sure that has changed over the years. And I'd like you to talk a lot about that too. So welcome, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love to, you to start by just kind of, maybe start where you're at today, but I definitely would love to take people back as far as your history because it's so rich and something I'm so personally feel connected to on so many levels.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joanne, for having me. I am excited to be here. Yes, I am Stephanie Lester, current president of Essations Incorporated, which has been a longtime partner to the professional stylists and also consumers in the texture world. We have been a multifaceted manufacturer here in the Chicagoland area. We do private labeling, co-manufacturing, and then we also do some production of our own lines and our own brands, which are distributed across the, internationally and across the world. So I'm excited to be here and share some of our story.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm so happy that you kind of touched on all of that because one of the things that interests me, for people that don't really kind of understand the beauty industry and understand the product manufacturing and understand exactly how that is, but you're second generation. So, I mean, it makes me think like when I think about my son, Max, and just, the idea of retirement and wanting to pass on the brand and what that could look like. And so now I'm sitting in front of somebody that has actually done that. And I would love you to start with like the beginning as far as your father starting his company. And then we talked a little bit about like your mom hopping in, which is so much like Greg and I, and just you having the front row seat. Could you bring us back to like you as a child and like what that looked like for you and your father and like just the legacy of it all?
Yeah, of course. So funny thing is I'm a Luster and we have two businesses that are in the beauty industry space that are in our lineage. So my father is one of nine. He's the youngest. and his oldest brother, who was 20 years older than him. His name's Fred Luster, so he started Luster Products, Pink Oil Moisturizer, S Curl, all of that was a part of his company. And my father worked for him for a few years,
Oh,
several
okay.
years actually. Yeah, so he worked with him. And then when my older sister, who has passed on since then, but she was diagnosed with childhood diabetes back when she had to be like 7 and I was 2, something like that.
Okay.
And during that time, my father was spending a lot of time hospitals, doctors' visits, all of that. And it was doing a disservice kind of to the family business that he was a part of at that time because he wasn't able to be there enough. So he started his own brand. And at the time, we were doing basically all private labeling. And we
Mm-hmm.
were doing some, curl products and stuff like that of our own. Our focus has normally been on professional stylists and private labeling, where Luster Products has been much more consumer based. So my father decides, he gets this big idea. He's like, look, I'm going to have to start my own company so that I could do, a good service to it and hopefully be able to pass something down to my children. And so my mother at the time was working downtown Chicago, I believe in the Sears Tower is what it's not called that now. I think they've renamed it to
Mm-hmm.
something else. But in Chicago, we refuse to call it anything but the Sears Tower. So
Right.
she was she was working at the Sears Tower, and she had this, great job, benefits, all of that. And she came home and told my father, she's like, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit my job because I need to support you. I need to be there for you in this company. And my father's like, wait, hold it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. We need that stable salary. So as a
Right.
child, I had the opportunity to watch my parents. I mean, we went through so many ups and downs. One thing
Mm.
about the beauty industry is it's ever changing. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a new trend, and if you're not evolving along with it, then you will get kind of left behind, and you have to continue to reinvent yourself. So I've watched the company go through all those stages. One thing that was is pretty funny. When we were younger, my parents would spend a lot of time at the plant. That's what they call it, the manufacturing plant. It was the plant. They were like, I'm going to the plant. So I would sit in front of a physical plant at home and imagine that I was at the plant. And
Oh,
yeah, of
that's
course
so
that wasn't true. Yeah,
precious.
right. Yeah, I was so young doing that. So
You're like, I'm at the plant too.
at the plant. So after a while, my parents they instilled a lot of work ethic in us. And
Mm-hmm.
so my summers were spent working, and I say working very loosely because you might have found me inside of a, cardboard box or something like that, playing
Right.
my own version of hide and seek with no one to find me or something,
Oh.
but they taught us how to work. I can remember supposed to be working for the summertime, and my parents, my mother particularly, would say whatever money I saved up from my pay that I would get over the summer, they would match it at the end of the summer, and this is what we would go and buy our new clothes and shoes for the school year with.
Oh.
And so it really taught us, a little bit of responsibility, how to manage our money, how to work for what we got. And it those tools have been a part of, who we are long standing too. So fast forward, after actually get when I graduated high school, I came on full time. I did college, here. I went to Chicago State University. So I was doing college here locally, and I was going part time essentially because I was working
Wow.
full time at the company, and I did everything. My parents joke about it like I got fired from every department. But I look back on it like I just learned all of the departments. Let's not say I got fired. So I've done everything. And after a while, I ended up going to cosmetology school to learn how to be a cosmetologist in the beauty industry. And I think what drew me so much to it was that I love change. I love to see
Mm.
things change. And
Mm.
so I worked in the compounding department for several years. And while I was working in the compounding department, I was learning what chemicals, how they react to each other, how they turn from a liquid or a wax and make these other products, conditioners, shampoos, relaxers, whatever the case may be. And I was just so enthralled in it. And it was beautiful to see this transition. And so I think that's kind of what led me to beauty school as well, because I wanted to see the transition between hair before we used the product until after we used the product and what that looked like. And so I went to do that. So unlike most of these beautiful, wonderful cosmetologists out here, I didn't go just strictly for a love of doing hair. I went for a love of product. So it's a little bit different there. And once I went, I fell in love with hair. So my journey to being a stylist behind the chair, I still have clientele now, is a little different than most people that enter the industry. And here we are.
You still have clientele now? Oh
Yes,
my,
a
okay.
few.
You're like, I'm
A
like,
few.
what do you
Yes,
not do, Stephanie?
yes,
Oh my
yes,
God, you must
for
be, how
sure.
much do you get to sleep? I'm like,
Not much, because the kids, number one, but a big thing for me is trying to figure out, and I've worked endlessly in this, trying to figure out how to compartmentalize or put boundaries around certain tasks. So
mm,
if my time on Saturday morning from, let's say, 6 a.m. to noon will be when I take these clients and get to try new products on them and help with the
nice.
R&D process or whatever, that's when it happens. And
Mm-hmm.
if my hat for, being with the children and figuring out how their day went and helping them with their schoolwork or whatever the case may be, if that happens, after they get home from school until about 7 or 8, then that's their time. So making sure that I hold space for everything that's important and kind of, putting boundaries behind that and not overextending that, I'm able to, I think, get a little bit more done in that way.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wow, being second generation leader in a family business, I mean, that comes with a lot of, responsibility, right? I mean, that's like the weight of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you feel like what has been the most surprising lesson, that you've learned moving forward? You have this legacy, but then how do you kind of make space for your own voice or I mean, it sounds like you like change. So I would imagine that you've kind of evolved the brand in your own way, but like, what lessons have you learned? And then how are you moving things forward kind of with your own like spin on it?
Yeah. So as you said, the change piece. So I really don't like change,
I know, isn't it funny
but
how
we're
we're like
forced to
we
do
say
it.
that we like change. Like I say
Yeah.
that too, like I like change, but there is
Yeah.
something that is nice in the status quo as well.
Yeah. There is
Yeah.
something that's very comfortable about the same. And I think that we're at a point, just generationally, or the universe period, we're at a point where change is happening more rapidly than it was
Mhm.
before. So, you know, before, evolution was kind of slow and steady, and now it's like 2 years ago I wasn't using AI, and now I have a whole assistant that isn't a person, and it's just the change in it is so rapid right now. It's
Right.
kind of hard to wrap my mind around it. And also, you know, for me, I look from a stylist perspective as being, I'm a 47-year-old woman. I've been
Mhm.
in the industry for a long time, but now trying to pinpoint what the new generation looks like, what it desires, what trends are important to them. So I think
Mm.
that's where my voice kind of lands at right now, and finding people that are around me that speak more to that, to actually kind of concrete longevity. Because if we
Mhm.
don't, and if we don't look at those who are coming after us, and I'm not just working from my experience behind the chair. If I don't do that, then it'll end with me, and
Yes.
once I get another 10 years from now or so, of course, I don't want to still be doing my clientele at that point. But then also, the styles and the trends and everything will be
Mm.
passing me by, because the people that I'm servicing, they are like me. They like the status quo, as you put it. They like
Yeah.
their standard. They come in, they get the same thing all the time because they found out where they like to be and what they like to do. So
Mhm.
I think it's all about not just getting my vision, but also incorporating other people to having a group vision and not just mine. There
Mhm.
are still some standards that I believe are just truly at the core, very important to me. And that's
Mhm.
how I want the brand to be expressed.
Yeah.
But there is just such a big room now for adding other people in and doing it by way of community and not just from my single lens.
Oh, I love that. No, I love that. I mean, community is such a big piece of it, right? Thinking about the whole contract manufacturing, I don't think really people completely maybe understand that what that is, even as a
Yeah.
stylist. Can you talk a little bit about what contract manufacturing is? And then also too, like I think my listeners would be really interested to know like what does it really take to build a brand? I mean, I see some of these stylists out there that are like, come out with a product here or there or whatever. And I think it's great and I want to champion everybody, but it's really challenging. And you probably sit in a different lens. So I think you're going to help me with this. But it's
Mhm.
really challenging for me to like not say to people like, oh, do you really want to do that? Do you really know like how
Yeah.
much this takes? Because I
Yeah.
don't know that people really understand that. So like, where is that sweet spot, or what can you just tell my listeners about a contract manufacturing, what that looks like, and then also like what does it really take from your seat, like people that have really built a brand?
So let me start off with just on the B portion. I do classes and I try to let people know about coming out with their own product. And I think the very first thing outside of figuring out why you're doing it or why you want to do it, which is extremely important, I'm a real foundational, fundamental person that believes that doing the small things makes the big things easier in time. I think
Mm-hmm.
we try to jump over the small things and get to the big things. You'll always circle back to the small things. But I think that what people have to do is they have to define what they want their brand to do for them. I think sometimes we as a group or as a community, we define success by what we view it as, not what each individual person sees it as. So there's someone that may want to come out with a brand, but she may want it just to be a supplemental brand where
Mm-hmm.
she's using it to retail. So she might be looking for a white label manufacturer who has great products. She could put her label on, and it's a way to get her brand out there more, her name out there more. But she's really just looking to do possibly local events, some social media stuff. Maybe she's retailing to her clients, and success in that is great for her because she's not looking for what can be this, overwhelming job that having a international brand is. And there may be someone else that may want to go a little bit further and they want to do maybe e-commerce and also do some retail stuff, also do some local events and use it as a way to start speaking education to people. That's great, and she can be successful in that way too. And then there are some people who want to be, innocence organic beauty, who want to be able to affect people just across the world with how they experience beauty and how they
Mm-hmm.
experience products. And so there's a way for success for that too. So I encourage people to think about what level of dedication they're able to have, what level of finances they have to be able to work with, time,
Mm-hmm.
because all of that is extremely important to really define where you fit in and what success feels like to you. So after saying that, contract manufacturing then comes in for that person who is really looking to have a brand that reaches the masses. They may be looking for, ultimately being on store shelves or ultimately being, international or worldwide or whatever. Contract manufacturing is a way for someone else to do the heavy production lifting for you while you're doing what you're good at, which is marketing and being the face and voice of the brand. And so what we do is help alleviate that manufacturing portion that takes a whole set of skill that marketing does not necessarily take, and we make it easy for you. So you get the product in, it's already labeled, it's already packaged, and what you do is sell it, and that's what you do is best. So as a contract manufacturer, we have contracts with different companies who have that clientele and are looking monthly to be able to produce certain orders or certain minimums so that they can then take it, market it, and get it to those people who are committed to their brands.
Oh, I love that. That you broke that down so well because I
Thank
just find like when people come to me and they're like, I have an idea idea. I want to make a brand. I have a hard time like not looking like a deer in the headlights and just being like, do you really know what that
Really
means? Like, do you,
don't know.
because I mean, I love the naiveness, because I know
Yeah.
for sure, I feel like on some level, Greg and I were definitely naive. I mean, I know I definitely was. I didn't have a front row seat, like he did in the corporate world. I was an educator. I was a hairstylist, so anyway, I really appreciate that you broke that down as far as the levels and kind of giving people ideas a little bit more about how the beauty industry works and how products really come out. So then back to you and your role and everything like that. I'm so curious, what is your favorite aspect? I mean, you said you worked in like so many different areas and got fired from different departments.
Yes,
What
yes,
department
yes.
did you not get fired from? No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally
Okay,
just kidding.
compounding. No, for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Compounding. I did
Okay.
not get fired from compounding. I actually left because it was so hot. So I was actually taking the chemicals in. I had people who would help assist me doing the heavy lifting. And I really loved seeing that transition and making the products. But if it wasn't 150 degrees back there by those tanks every day, and I would get my little hair done, and I'd be like, you know what, this is not for me. So it's actually still my favorite part of the company in all is compounding. But I have, and I'm extremely glad that I had that experience because I'm able to take that and as I'm doing, research development and product development and stuff like that now, or even when I talk to my partners who are coming on for contract manufacturing, what's great about me with having that cosmetology experience as well, if I have someone that comes to me and said, hey, here's my idea, I can kind of visualize it and conceptualize it a little bit differently than a company that does not have someone like
Oh,
that on staff.
absolutely.
Yeah, so as we're going back and forth, let's just say if I was, pitching to get some products, be able to make some products for someone, and that partner comes on and we're going through this R&D experience, and they say to me, I tell them, just tell me in regular plain terms, it doesn't hold well enough, there's not enough shine, or when I used it, it kind of felt sticky. That means something different from me, and my compounding experience gives me a way to be able to look at ingredients and say, okay, not enough this, a little bit more of that, or whatever. And I work with a chemist who I can explain it to, and we can really do that thing real well with having that compounding experience.
I love that. I mean, you
Yeah,
sound like Greg to
yeah,
me,
yeah,
I think that is part of his joy of the process too. So,
yeah.
I mean, not so much for me. And I think there was a point where Greg was like, I could see the wheels ticking for him of actually like wanting to build like a manufacturing facility,
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
was like,
Yeah. Tell,
ah,
tell them no.
that feels like a whole nother business. I mean, you can only do so many things
Yes,
well,
yes,
right? I
for
mean,
sure.
regardless of how much help you have and everything like that. But I know if Greg were to hear you talk about that, he would be like, his eyes would light up and he would get all sparkly. And I
Tell
mean,
him just he can come. He's welcome at any time. He can come spend a couple days. We'll be
I,
sparkly together.
I would love
We'll-
that. I
yeah,
would love
we'll
to
go over
connect
in
you
the
too, because
manufacturing
that is his
facility. Yes,
thing.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
his thing.
But
I
tell
mean,
them don't get the whole plant. I'm telling the plant is there's a lot. It's like you said, a totally different business. It is. It's a totally different business. It's a totally different business. So tell him that it is a heavy lift by itself. It's a
oh, I
really
think,
heavy lift by
yeah. I mean,
itself.
I think I've definitely kind of tempered his, drive to want to do that. I'm glad that you're agreeing with me,
Yes,
Stephanie.
for sure. 100%.
I hope he's listening.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And it also makes me think, are you like a good cook or a good baker or something like that? Because I think about like compounding and how the ingredients and the amount and the this and the that. I mean, I don't know. I just made me think of
So
that when you were talking about.
So what I like about it, or let's say cooking, like you said, with cooking, I follow the recipe to a T the first time that I do it. So
Oh
there's
my
some
God.
cuts.
Yeah, I love you, because
Yeah.
you know what? I don't do that. I
Okay.
call myself a kamikaze chef. So sometimes it like comes out really good and then
Yes.
sometimes it does not come out so good. So okay, tell me
No,
more.
but
This
I
is
but
Stephanie.
I
This is good.
I envy people who are able to do. So there are some people that are just so creative that they're able to think of something to cook and they could just put it together and it's a masterpiece. And when I go in the kitchen, it's stuff all over the place and all of that, but that's how they do it. Me, on the other hand, I get this recipe and I'm like, okay, make sure it's a pinch of this and a teaspoon of that. And I put it together that way first. And then I taste it and say, oh, you know what? I should have added more of this or that or the other. And I can tweak the recipe. I envy people who are able to just go at it and put it together and make it, So in compounding, I like it because
It's precise,
it's
right?
very
So
precise.
precise.
It
Yeah.
is. So if you do just anything differently, which is one, and I know this is kind of off subject just a tad bit, but that's why when I have stylists who come to me and they say, can I use this product with this brand's product? Or if they say, can I use
Oh,
this
yep.
product and add a little bit more? I just want to add a little bit of this in there, or add a little bit of that. And I'm like, oh my God, you're changing up the entire formulation.
Hairstylists want to do that all day long, though.
Yes,
I mean,
they want
that
to be chemists.
they
Yes.
want to be chemists. They do for
Yeah.
sure. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. I know. It's
So,
interesting. Yeah.
so I completely love compounding, being able to be precise and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put it together, and voila, we have something beautiful at
That's
the end.
beautiful. That's incredible. Well, I would love you to talk about like your brand. Like I see you're wearing the naked sweatshirt. I love
Yes.
that. Could you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that and like just the inception of it and like kind of what it means for you?
Sure. So when we first began, like I said before, we were doing a lot of private labeling. And then we had a curl line at the time too. And then relaxers came and they took over. And so we had our flagship brand, which is named after the company Essations. So we had the entire Essations line. And what we started noticing probably around 15 years ago, because again, trends. And so the trend in the African American beauty community, or with texture hair, was they were embracing the natural hair and kind of moving away from relaxers. And so one thing we found, which is funny, and even myself being one of them, as you transition over to the natural hair, you really did not know what it would do, what it needed, or anything,
Mm,
because you were just so used to chemically altering the hair, just kind of from the time you were able to do your own hair. We were relaxing, we were wearing curls, we were doing whatever. So this phenomena where people were coming and they were getting to know their own hair, one thing that a lot of people in the community had in common was that the hair lacked the amount of moisture that was
mm,
needed, which you don't
mhm.
really see that as you're being relaxed or, being chemically treated. So Naked, the brand, which is still under the Essations umbrella, it was birthed out of the need for more moisture in the hair. So we
Nice.
took even the chemical processing, but also the natural hair segment of it, and made it much more moisturizing for the stylists, for the clients, the consumers, or whatever. And it was birthed out of adding honey and almond oil into the products and allowing that to be able to naturally infuse moisture into the hair. And it, as soon as we dropped it, immediately took like a life of its own and kind of outdid everything else that we were selling, because we were listening to the trend and what the hair actually really needed at the time. And that's where it was born from. And then we've kind of just evolved from there since then.
Oh, I love that. Honey and almond oil. Those are amazing ingredients. That's
Yes,
incredible.
yes,
So,
yes.
do you have a favorite product then? Can you talk a little? I mean, the people ask me that sometimes from my lens. I know it's hard. I mean, I've kind of practiced a little bit, so maybe I'm catching you off guard, but I definitely, I mean, because, what Greg would say, all of my products are the favorite product, but I guess I'm just
For
trying
sure.
to like ask you, is there one that you feel very, very connected to, or one that works really well for you personally, or one that you've seen transform people's hair,
Yeah.
or maybe you
So,
can pick two? No.
yeah, right. Right. So I will say Greg is right. Like, all of the products are the favorite products,
They
right?
are. They
But
are. They
but
are.
if I could choose two, so my favorite process, this is so funny. My favorite process in being a cosmetologist and dealing with the client, my favorite processes are anything that deals with transformation is change. Like I said
Mhm.
before, I just love transformation. So I like, for hair that's been smooth, I like to go to the shampoo bowl and shampoo the hair. I completely dig that. Like, I love to shampoo the hair. I like seeing the hair being in its curly state and blow drying. I might be the only stylist in the world. It's like, I love the blow dry. I love a good old fashioned blow dry. And then when we get to the styling portion, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like that
uh,
doesn't do it for me the same way that the blow dry does. So I will say that, well, first I'll say the tea tree system. I'm not going to pick one product out of it. I'm just going to say the system together, which is for dry and itchy scalps. It deals with fungus at the scalp, fungal infection, things like that. So we formulated that brand to be not just good for the hair and the scalp. It's a treatment, but it also is good for how you smell, and just it gives you this full experience. So I think that is probably my favorite products, is those
how
that.
many products are in that
So yeah, I'm
system?
cheating. I'm cheating
No,
a
that's
little
okay.
bit.
I just want
Okay,
to. I
okay.
That's
So
good.
there's
I
there's
like your style.
thank you. So there's a pre-shampoo antiseptic. So there's an antiseptic, shampoo, conditioner, and then an oil and glossifier. And so
Okay.
those are the things that are used. My favorite out of them will probably be the pre-shampoo, because I
Hmm.
love to be able to apply it to the scalp, especially if I have someone that is coming out of braids or extensions or something like
Hmm.
that, where their scalp has kind of been put away for a while,
Right.
and be able to put it on the scalp, and you can kind of watch the buildup that's on the scalp kind of just start coming into the
Dissipating.
bowl.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Ooh,
I'm looking at
that's
it like, oh, look at that.
satisfying.
It's
That's super
so, yes,
satisfying.
it's transformation. It's so satisfying. Yes, absolutely. So that's probably my favorite product in that line, that collection. And then my other thing that I love probably the most too is another shampoo, but it's the moisture repair shampoo. And I
Mm-hmm.
use that on absolutely almost everybody, especially the people who have that moisture content that they need to have repair to. It's the perfect thing to be able to, you can literally feel the hair transform as you're applying it and using it. And it's so good because, most people, I'm going to say consumer wise, not necessarily stylists, but consumer wise, they're so into all of the styling items and all of that. But sometimes the foundation, if the foundation is right, it makes everything else much more easy. So those would probably be my two things that
I
I love
love
the
that.
most.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that. That just makes me want to go shampoo somebody's hair right now.
Yeah. Exactly. And
When
blow
we're
dry
talking
afterwards.
about it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love those foundational things. It makes a huge difference. People don't realize. I feel like it's funny when from my lens, oftentimes people will be like, "What's the one product that's going to change my life or change my hair?" And it's like, "Oh,
Yes.
no, 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 no. We need to talk about the system or how
Yes.
it's done or the
Yes.
fundamentals or just getting the
Yes.
hair back into a healthy state or the scalp
Correct.
or whatever it is." So that I love
Yes,
that you
for
highlighted
sure.
that. Well, Stephanie, we could talk on and on and on and on. I know we
Yes.
could.
Good.
This has been such a joy and such a pleasure to have you. I'm just wondering if there's any last like parting things or things that something that we didn't touch on or anything that you might want to make sure that my community and the listeners know about you. Or oh, I guess the one thing I was going to ask is what about your kids? So are you grooming them to come into the business, or where do they sit? Is your daughter or son or whoever you have at home sitting in front of a plant when knowing that you're going to the plant?
So my children, I keep them active in any and everything that I can find for them to do to give them these experiences. My daughter, I'm seeing her naturally have like an entry in beauty in general. Maybe
Nice.
not necessarily hair, even though she does have, like, she comes in while I'm doing some clients, and she has her mannequin and that's her client. And
Aw.
she's 11, so she's, kind of evolving out of that. She is really interested in nails. She is really interested
Mm.
in styling, clothes styling. So beauty is kind of really all on her. She has her own whole style and personality of her
Oh.
own. My son, though, he's more so about, now he loves sports, so he wants to be a sports broadcaster when he
Mm.
gets when he gets older. So he's kind of like, Mom, this is what I want to do. I want to be a broadcaster, but I also like acting. He's been in a couple of plays or whatever, so he really does like acting as well. So he's like,
Oh.
either I want to be a broadcaster or actor, and if that doesn't work out for me, then I'm gonna just come over to the plant and I'll work there. So he's kind of like
Oh, as
as a
yeah.
backup
Yeah,
plan.
I love that.
So he does. I take them to stores. I let them see the product on the shelf. I try to groom kind of like a pride in them for what we have going on.
Of
But
course.
then I also leave them room to be able to have their own voices with what they want to do. So I'm not pushing it on them, but still giving them experience. I take them to places where I have to talk or do some education sometimes if it's convenient. I'll have them go with me, my daughter particularly, and she's so full of pride and she'll be there recording for me and stuff like that. So
Aw.
just giving them a bird's eye view of kind of what it is and how we can touch people through it, because it really is big about touching people and impacting worlds. So they're getting a good view of that now. We'll see how it progresses. They're still pretty young. My son's 14, he'll be 15 next month, and my daughter's 11. So we'll see how it goes. But when it comes to just interest in beauty, my daughter, she's the one right now.
She's there.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm going to be watching out on that. Well,
yeah.
you're such a good mom, Stephanie.
Thank you,
Thank you so much for sharing that.
thank you.
And again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I feel like this kindred spirit towards you from the standpoint of your life and what you've been through. And it really helps me as a mom, seeing you as a second generation person. It just really is very, very inspiring. You're inspiring as a leader, and just, I'm so grateful to know you. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here, Stephanie. And I just hope that this relationships continues. And if you hear me saying that I'm shipping Greg off to Chicago next time he wants to build a plant, I'm
Here.
I'm going to
I'm
take
here
you
for
up
it.
on that. Okay.
Yes, I'm here for it. I'll take him all the way through and
Okay.
show him all of the things. Like, we're
Yeah.
going to do a full tour, okay?
Yeah. How can people reach you? That's the other thing. Where best to find you?
Yeah, so on our social media, on everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere for the company is at Essations, and that's Essations. And then
Okay.
me personally, Instagram, Facebook. I don't really do Twitter. I feel like I have way too much to say to be on Twitter. But I'm Stephanie J. Luster on those platforms. So, let's connect. And
Amazing.
yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Stephanie. I
Thank
appreciate
you
you
for
being
having me. I
here.
love
Yeah,
the conversation.
I did too. Thank you
Yep.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode, dear friends. I would be thrilled to hear which part resonated with you the most. Your reflections on today's topic and how it sparked action in your life mean a lot to me. Feel free to share your thoughts at podcasts@innersensebeauty.com or leave a review. I look forward to you coming back next week to explore another exciting topic together. If you'd like to dive deeper, be sure to check out the show notes for some valuable links. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself. Know that you are surrounded by love, and always trust your inner sense. Wishing you all the best, friends.